Welcome, everybody, to the Bituation Room Debate Recap. I am your host, Francesca Fiorentini. I am joined by comedians Brandie, Posey, who's also one of the hosts of the Lady to Lady podcast, and Nato Green, who you've heard on this show. You've heard him on the Bugle podcast. You know him from his stand-up work. Just like here we are. We're just homies in the struggle. We just ingested 90 minutes of truly, Brandie said at one point, just jazz on one side, and not good jazz, like
bad.
real bad. A lot of squeaky instruments.
Yeah,
just some like Ornette Coleman outtakes.
I don't even know what that means, but it was just like,
is that too deep? Come on, Frantifa, back me up. Ornette Coleman outtakes.
dude, this was like, yeah, the session was long and winding, and
oh no, I want to report, if you don't have the television on, ABC News has cut for color commentary right away to JD Vance.
Oh, so glad.
Oh, God.
So glad Vance is weighing in. I think what the American people saw tonight was a man who is definitely my sugar daddy and my ticket to my golden ticket. Nobody gives a shit. Although I will say, after seeing tonight, I would like to see Kamala Harris also debate JD Vance. Because I don't want to cut Tim Walz out of anything, but like I do think that would be fun. Look, I think she did a really good job in a debate that was not for people like us who are like, no, but for real, how are you going to do it? You're talking about. But for people who need to be reminded, and also need to be reminded about how freaking close this election is. I mean, you watch Donald Trump freewheel up there and you're like, nobody's voting for him, right? Nah, man. Polls are close. Polls are close, and they're especially close in the swing states where, and I love Brandie. We were talking about this. There's a moment where Kamala Harris points out the 800, what was it? 800,000, like the Polish community of Pennsylvania by name, and was like, oh, Putin's going to go into Poland next. And you were like, damn, girl, someone's doing her swing state homework.
She's gonna be shoveling latkes for the next couple of months until all the swing states trying to make it happen.
Absolutely. I'm like, I wish California was important and be like, there are Chinese Italian comedians out there who are struggling. Like, yes, girl. Yep. To my needs. But let's go over, there were just a few moments, we can go sort of in order, but I don't know if there was anything, I don't know, Brandie, Brandie and Nato, before we go into some of the moments, any key things you liked, didn't like?
I really liked that how quickly she found her stride. And she didn't do the we go high thing of like ignoring his crazy. She did call him one. I think she did a good job of like showing a little bit of personality, which we need to see. I mean,
yes.
Thinking about in terms of debate stuff. These are things I liked about what she did. I think her asking him, he was like, okay. She was very good at being like that, like concerned lady to him, like, oh, you're crazy.
Like a little bit of like a best friend who's like, maybe you should talk to someone about that.
Yeah, like you're talking about him again is like the energy that she was getting.
Yeah. Are the migrants in the room with you right now was very much the energy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think she did a really great job.
Nato?
Yeah.
I mean, I liked how like I wanted her to do something like a dramatic, like, mic drop, like in your face kind of diss. And what she did was like,
or her.
I wanted her to do that of him. Like, but it like, she like wove in these digs against him of things that baited him, and he took the bait every time.
He did.
And was like, wait a minute, my crowds aren't small or whatever. Like, how dare you say people are bored at my event?
That's when he lost it. He lost it because this man is a stand-up comic. He's not a president. He's actually a stand-up comedian.
He's a
Right.
shitty, hacky stand-up, and we've all seen it before.
He's Matt Rife without the good looks.
Right.
Yeah.
He's trying to get there. So let's go to that moment, actually. Let me see if I can just forgive me, but I'm going to be pulling up clips here.
So while you pull up, okay, but never mind.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, the other thing is like, I think I said this a minute ago, but seeing the moderators fact check him in real time was pretty remarkable.
I think we need to talk about that because I think, not only we'll go to the cats moment, but like the fact that he did lose the election and used his own words. He did say recently that he lost by a whisker, or that, Biden beat him by a whisker. Going back to January 6th, like CNN just kind of like rolled over and played dead. And we're like, that's fine. Yep. All those lies are good. And they like very gingerly were like, that is not what happened. And, and they didn't. The other thing that I liked was that their hard questions to Kamala Harris were number one, not just about Joe Biden, because I feel like there is a little bit too much like, why weren't you the president for the last 3.5 years? And so they definitely treated her as an actual separate person.
Yes.
But also when they talk about her policy reversals, there wasn't an added like, how can the American people trust you? It was just like, here's what you've said, like expand on like, are these your values or not? Like, how does this square? What should people think about? Like it, I don't know. I just felt like there was less attempt at a gotcha. They didn't even attempt to do gotchas for Trump. They just wanted to lightly fact check him.
No, absolutely. It did feel like it was just like, this is a substantive question, and we'd like the answer on it.
There was like 3 parts to the questions. They were meaty and juicy and chewy. And, that's why they could ignore some of them. And of course, Gaza was ignored, one of the many things that was ignored. And Kamala Harris basically just reiterated her statement, which here's what I'll say about the Gaza stuff. It was actually slightly reassuring that the same message she gave to the Democratic voting base was the message she's giving to the general voting base, right? To all Americans, because it means she's not like sort of, whatever, Israel code switching, if you will, based on policy switching, based on who she's talking to. She didn't go extra hard on, talking about October 7th. She didn't go extra hard on like, no, I love all the settlements. She played it the exact same way she played it at the DNC, which, honestly is just as bad as it was then. So it was like at least it didn't get even more fucking, Zionist.
I mean, I've been thinking about, obviously I've been thinking about this a lot, and like, like on the one hand, obviously a different policy from the US government towards Israel is the morally right thing to do and the more effective thing to do. But I feel like imagine what a different political conversation we would be in right now if like Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman hadn't lost their primaries because of AIPAC. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was, I feel like it was partly, that the pro-Palestinian movement, I mean, so it's such a dilemma because those of us who support Palestinian freedom are, it's the strongest, most successful it's ever been in my lifetime, and yet not strong enough to stop a genocide and not strong enough to consistently beat AIPAC in primaries. And until that changes, particularly the second part, then we're not going to be able to change the policy.
Well,
and it's just hard to hold those contradictory realities.
Yeah, and and the last part about that is that, she is really close in states that have a large Arab and Muslim population. And the fact that she isn't changing any positions from Joe Biden's, it's reflecting the polling that she would be up. I believe she would be up if she changed at least her plans. She's changing her tone about Palestinians deserve to live in dignity, which I think is good. But like, it would go a lot longer. It would go a lot farther if she actually had, say like, here's how I'm going to do it. We give them hand over fist money. I mean, she can't. And I think that's what you're saying, Nato, is like, there is fear. There is a lot of unspoken fear here of the Israeli lobby pulling hard against you. But I do want to play that moment we talked about being baited. And I will agree with one of the commenters who said that Trump's mic was unmuted often. That's very true. Mm-hmm. Trump would start talking and they would just kind of unmute his mic, let him do his thing. Here she is. She knows this is going to get under his skin. This is the moment I wanted, was for her to actually try to get under his skin, and she does, and he takes the bait.
Thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said, start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there and then showing them in a different light. So she can't talk.
Showing them in a different light, like good lighting, actually. It's like the lighting. It's like that show Insecure. They know how to light the blacks.
People don't leave my rallies. We have the biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost.
This was the point where,
nation.
As Brandie, you said, he was like, oh, he got mad.
Yeah, he lost it.
Instead of just sort of laughing it up, he got mad.
And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject.
So anyway, I'm not going to play the whole thing because he knows exactly. He's like, anyway, just go into another subject, World War III. What about that? Now, let's, we're going to keep it moving. I think this was a really good answer that Kamala Harris had up top. This was sort of the answer we wanted her to begin with, which was about Americans in this economy. She started off with being like, I'm a middle class, from a middle class family, opportunity economy. And this is where she was like, all right, let's actually call shit for what it is, and how Trump left it.
I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left.
I mean, Mother Nature did that. Someone who ate a pangolin did that, but yeah, it's true.
In a century, Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
So I think, Nato, to your point of like, she's able to sneak diss, but also like focus on this like unity, kumbaya, everyone together, no more drama. I was like, she was about to like sing Mary J. Blige, like very much like, which is what a lot of people
would have won if she had said there's no more drama in the dancery.
Yeah.
yeah.
Blue wave.
Blue wave. I mean, and that's the thing is, again, this is what they do, right? She's going for the center. She's going for former Trump voters. She's going for people who maybe are thinking about leaving, the top line empty, not voting for president. But that was a good.
I also want to like, there's just at a presentation level, given that they didn't get the questions or the topics in advance, that she that she had that parallel structure of like Donald Trump left us, Donald Trump left us, Donald Trump left us. We're all performers. Coming up with that kind of parallel structure on a riff is fucking hard. Like most of us, you started, and then by the fourth one, you're like changing the metaphors, and
Yes.
you're off in a different direction.
I mean, she
Mhm.
definitely practiced that shit, and I think Brandie and I were saying, and initially, she did sound nervous.
Yeah.
I definitely hear way too much, like, lip smacking from everyone. Like, there's just like, everybody take a sip of water, calm down. Like, you know, it's like throats went dry immediately. You know, like cotton mouth, you know, from all, you know, just cotton mouth.
This was the ASMR debate.
It really was. There was a lot of little smacky smacks, but like then as Brandie and I were like, she finds her groove, and here's part of that sneak diss groove where she talks about the differences between them and how Donald Trump is a silver spoon, little daddy's boy.
As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work. We are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term.
So Kamala Yimby,
Yeah.
yes, in my backyard, let's build them homes. But this was a great line, like bankrupted 6 times. Then he disputes it. And remember, he disputes it just by saying he didn't get $400 million, but the bankruptcies were real. That's and
I
then,
only got
and when
$20
you're
million.
rich, you can do that.
Yeah. Excuse me. It was a pittance. It was only 20 million.
I mean, this is the kind of like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like you get halfway there with Harris, and
Mhm.
I feel like completing the diss is to say, meanwhile, student borrowers who borrowed money to go to college cannot declare bankruptcy for failure to pay. That is how we have a 2-tiered economy. Like, boom, like that people's ears perk up. That brings voters out. But this was, you know, it's designed again to just show you who Trump is. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. I will say I've only gotten 3 fundraising texts from the Democratic Party during that debate. I'm actually
Pelosi's face going.
It's just been
watch the debate.
Come on, Kamala sparked a miracle. Kamala soaring. Kamala sparked a miracle. Actually,
He's like an eagle.
The same text.
I've gotten 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a birthday text message. 6, 7. I got 10. The first text message I got tonight was from Doug. Awkward. Do you know where your husband is?
Yeah.
Tim Walz texted and asked if we could make out. So
yeah, they're sliding into our DMs. Okay, so this is a moment that a couple of moments that I really liked in terms of foreign policy. Was Donald Trump basically was just like, I mean, it could not have been clearer, the 2 pathways, right? Trump praises Viktor Orban, says that these, you know, it's a beautiful country, Hungary, and they love him. And she calls him on the shit. She says he is loved by dictators and authoritarians because he wants to be like them. And all they have to do is flatter him. And that was
it's very good.
Perfect. This is the thing we all have wanted to say to his face for years now. So here's part of that exchange.
Travel the world as vice president of the United States. And world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men.
Good
call him a
pivot.
strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him.
Meanwhile,
Look
Harris
at
is
what's
like the
going on
most
with North Korea,
lethal
by the way.
army.
He said Russia
Yeah.
was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline.
Wait, can we just say that if you're just listening, the closed captioning is writing out Russia the way Trump says Russia. Russia was afraid of the most New York accent.
There is, we should note, breaking news, everybody. Taylor
Yeah.
Swift endorsed Kamala Harris.
Yep,
She
that's
just-
real.
She posted on her Instagram.
And it's a
Tay-tay.
picture. It's a picture of her holding a cat, which is very funny. I'm not.
Ping me that and we will put it up. I wanted to go to, speaking of cats, let's just tee up this moment. This actually was an extension because the guy could not stay on message. This was sort of where the entire baiting about crowd sizes eventually went.
And look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame.
So this laughing at this was so perfect. So
Yeah.
Kamala Harris is there laughing at it because Hillary Clinton would have been like, I'm waiting for my turn to speak. I'm going to talk about policy. And the fact that she's laughing is so great. They're eating the cats and dogs. I saw the movie The Truth About Cats and Dogs. The short one, what's her name? Garofalo. Big liberal, but even she wasn't eating the cats or the dogs. They say it's a cat lady, but there wouldn't be so many cats if there were more married women who didn't have cats, and they wouldn't have to be cat. They'd have kids, and then they would eat the kids. They'd eat them after 9 months. Anyway, someone going to interrupt me? Am I just going to keep doing this? Anyway.
No, I wanted to keep going forever. Actually, I want to see Kamala have to debate you, but you doing Trump. That's what I would actually like to see happen.
Exactly. You really could just mute his entire moment and just like fucking just go, just like stream of consciousness, which he has a new term for. It's like, it's not thought clouding or thought nesting, but it's like he's got a new term for rambling, and people need to remind me what it is. But let's keep going.
As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's very simple.
I mean, the line here is like, is that why someone tried to kill you during one of them? Like, they got so tired of hearing you, they almost took you out. I can't take it anymore.
It's kind of crazy that he mentioned that for a second and then nobody responded to it, and then we just moved on.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers.
Nobody remembers.
Remember
It's
I
really
got shot?
crazy.
You're like, oh yeah, interesting. You know,
I'm sorry,
my
gun violence in America? Were we supposed to remember that beyond like 72 hours?
Yeah.
My mom just moved to Aurora, and it's like called me. So she's like, "There's so many immigrants here. It's awesome." She's so excited to be around in the immigrant community.
That is so funny. That is such a Nato Green's mom story, and I love that. Well, that's the thing is like the question of the follow up to there are lots of immigrants coming into a community is so
yeah.
What's that
good.
doing? Sounds cool.
Better.
The food is better. More people probably to do tougher jobs.
Yeah. Do you like fruit? Get some immigrants.
Exactly. And they are like stimulating the economy supposedly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, will end up being Venezuela on steroids.
What does that look like, Venezuela on steroids? I'm thinking like just like faster cumbia.
That's Richard Lewis is so mad that Trump stole his line.
Yeah, this is Venezuela on steroids. Like I could fuck with that.
Yeah.
Here is so this is like legit a line they're trying to float. They're eating the cats. They're eating the cats and dogs. And so my people,
Do you think RFK, every time it happens, he's just like, shouldn't have said anything, or is he still proud of it? Where's he falling on that?
I think he's like, I know the taste of dog flesh, and I will go back. I'm trying to find where Tay is doing this.
I sent it to you in your DMs.
Dude, you got to send it to me in this chat.
Oh, sorry.
My DMs.
I actually have her blocked on every website possible.
You just had to say it was on the gram. I'll go to the gram now.
Yeah.
Very exciting. But let's see. Let's just go to, again, back to, I think, one of her strongest points, and the thing that I didn't think she'd actually be good on, which was this answer about Afghanistan. We knew the answer of Afghanistan withdrawal was going to come. Yeah. And I was like, how is she going to play it? Is she going to walk away from it? Is she going to say she would have done something different? And she handled it pretty brilliantly. Speaking of, not knowing, again, she has to have known this was coming, but here we go.
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down.
This I loved. Having a counter story about what Trump did in Afghanistan is brilliant. And she explained it so well, but not as well as Trump then explains the deal.
Abdul
was there.
Abdul was there, my guy.
Back to word jazz.
The terrorists called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American
we poisoned
diplomacy,
Yasser Arafat.
where we invite and receive respected world leaders.
JK.
And this former president,
what was I gonna be?
This
guy.
motherfucker.
This bitch. This bitch.
as president, invited them.
Good.
We gotta go back and watch that.
be
This
respected world leaders. And this former president has
Good moment.
reins it in. This man,
This motherfucker.
which to be fair to him, he never said, I don't think he said this woman. Like he didn't, he stayed away from that. The guy can be
He just kept
straight.
pointing that way.
Right. She's got one of these. Look, it's a
Yeah. This
president
anyway,
invited them
it's a little
to Camp
doodly-doo.
David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility.
In my second term, I will
of
find the
President
clitoris.
of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying,
Okay. And that response, there is a whole story about a person named Abdul. We're not sure who Abdul is. He is trying to recite from memory a report that he definitely did not read. But that I thought was an excellent answer, just to be like, I did want to add the Houthis, that he actually helped release some of the Houthis who are currently attacking ships in the Red Sea because they're based as fuck. But no, they that was brilliant. It was like, all right, you basically released Taliban and invited them to Camp David. Probably was told that was a terrible look. Meanwhile, I helped negotiate one of the biggest hostage releases since the Cold War. She didn't say that, but she should have, and she in fact did. She did work behind the scenes on that. So that was a solid answer. And now we have to be hella lib about this and put up the Taylor Swift post as she's posing with a cat that, of course, she has like a fluffy Siamese.
That's the cat that she would have.
Blue eyes. Every neo-Nazi is like, how is she not one of us?
Yeah.
How is she not one of us?
The betrayal.
Like many of you, I watched the debate tonight. If you haven't already, now is a great time to do your research on the issues at hand and the stances these candidates take in the backseat of a Chevy, like we were, on topics that matter to you most. As a voter, I make sure to watch and read everything I can. I can about their proposed policies and plans for this country. Recently, I was made aware that AI of me falsely endorsing Donald Trump's presidential run was posted to the site. It really conjured my fears around AI and the dangers of spreading misinformation. It brought me to the conclusion that I need to be very transparent about my actual plans for this election as a voter. The simplest way to combat misinformation is with the truth. I will be casting my vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz at 25. No! No! No, Taylor. I think she's a steady-handed, gifted leader, and I believe we can accomplish so much more in this country if we are led by calm and not chaos. I was so heartened and impressed by her selection of running mate Tim Walz, who has been standing up for LGBTQ plus rights, IVF, and a woman's right for her own body. To her own body for decades. I've done my research. I've made my choice. Your research is all yours to do, and the choice is yours to make. No, we don't. We just want to follow you. Remember that in order to vote, you have to be registered. I also find it's much easier to vote early. I'll link where to register and find early voting dates and info in my story. With love and hope, Taylor Swift, childless cat lady. You know,
And
I love
most
a liberal feminist white bitch. Like I like Taylor. I'm sorry. I've liked her before this. I don't like the new album. Not really my fave. Kind of the recycled shit. But if you actually listen to Taylor Swift, it's just littered with like feminist shit. It's good. It's like bare minimum Gen Z good feminist shit.
And there is nothing more liberal white lady than the fact that on Taylor Swift's Instagram, she has 283 million followers and follows nobody.
Yes.
I love it. She's the leader. Yeah.
I mean,
I like her music. I just don't like I just don't want to hear about her all the time. That's the only reason I have her blocked on every channel. It's not her, it's the fans.
It's why I have I guess I have the Kardashians blocked because I don't want to have anything to do with them, and I don't. Yeah. But it's true. If you are a woman or a feminine person online, you are just hawked nothing but Taylor Swift and Kardashians. Yeah. So, but anyway, this was the moment. In fact, the right was freaking out about. I don't know if you guys have been following, but the right was like, okay, as long as Taylor Swift doesn't endorse President Biden, that we're okay. And they were like, well, I don't know why you would. And this was during her Eras tour where they all had taken their kids to go watch her. And then they were like, I hope she's not going to vote Democrat. No. Because they saw the crowds of young, impressionable women that she commands. And it's like, it's over.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. That's exciting. Good for her. I'm glad she took a stand.
Yeah, very exciting. And
as a childless cat lady, because if we know one thing about childless cat ladies, they have time on their hands.
Yes, they do. Here's meme of Trump as Wolverine looking longingly at a picture of Joe Biden.
Can I just say shout out to the toner in Trump's hair tonight? I'll give him that. He toned down his hair. It didn't look horrific.
He looked good. He like his makeup was kind of on point. I will say, if we're doing like purely, aesthetics, while we might not have liked the neckerchief, Nato, the nails were like a beautiful like lilac hue and real fly. Yeah. She also points out, that, and this was her answer when it came to Trump talking about race and Trump talking about turning black. And Kamala Harris had a beautiful answer. I'm going to try to find it in the next little bit. Let's see. I'm without producer this evening. But he is asked by the moderators about his comments that she turned black, right? And here he is, just as he cannot step away from anything that he formerly said. Basically, again, you can leave it. Just leave it. Just leave it.
Yeah.
Leave it.
Can't
But he
stop him.
cannot leave it.
Trump thing. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, "I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black." I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, that she put out.
There he goes. He's like, I don't know. And it's like, just leave it. Just leave it, my guy. I read
Her
she
face.
was not black. This still right here is,
That's the debate. That's
dude,
a great,
this is the debate.
great moment.
I don't know.
And
Since
I'll
since
say
he said that,
and then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up.
And Trump, thank you.
That's up
I
to
wanna
her.
move on now to
Either
race.
one is okay. Just pick a lane, you know? Ooh, hello. And-
since he said that, I've been humming to myself the Das Racist song. I've got a black lady. I've got an Indian lady. I've got a combination black and an Indian lady.
Yeah.
is that really a song?
No, that song is combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Some-
That's good.
Somewhere Rachel Dolezal is just like, yes, you can just pick. You can just pick.
I told them.
That's what I've been saying the whole time.
And this was her response, which I thought was, you know, she has been, and it's been a choice, right? She's been avoiding talking about race and gender this entire time. She has basically said, like, it's the same old thing, but she dares to engage just a little bit more, but she doesn't make it personal, which I think is smart, even though I feel like she could possibly stand up for herself a little bit more.
I think honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe.
And there's that look, guys. There's that look, the like, who you are, a small man.
Yeah.
Just like, you need help. You need help. And she just kind of like sizes him up. And there's just like a disdain. And he's like, I feel the eyes. I feel shame.
You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us. And we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned land, he owned buildings.
It's so weird to not say landlord.
Yeah. It's like, is she talking to like does some of the real estate industry and lobbyists like don't say landlord? He was a lord of the land.
Yeah. He's a minor. Yeah.
He's into real job. Yeah. But yeah, I love that. He's like, she can't even say landlord.
Because he refused to rent property to Black families.
So these are good receipts.
Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States.
Stand up for your
I think the
man.
American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people. Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Okay, so
Yeah.
again, it's good. It's
Yeah.
good, and it's like,
Yeah.
aren't we tired of this shit? Aren't we tired of blaming other people? Aren't we tired of the whining? And she depersonalizes it, so you don't have to remember that I'm black. You don't have to remember that I'm a woman. You don't have to remember that I'm an Asian woman.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know, Nato. What do you think about this whole tack of being like, it's basically kind of the Obama move of like, throw your white guilt onto me. I will absorb it and never remind you of it again.
I mean, Americans love use black people giving them redemption stories.
Yeah.
You
To win
know?
an election, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's like, I think, I mean, I wasn't sure about the Central Park 5 line because it was like, Americans don't have historical memory. And so I sort of get the, like, this is who he's always been kind of line. But like, there's so much, like, he does so much continuously racist stuff.
Right.
That,
pick something, anything.
yeah. It's like there are more recent receipts that she could have drawn on.
Mm-hmm.
I think he actually had something to his defense on that. He actually talks about the Central Park 5.
Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they said they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. Going back.
So right. So because he can never admit that he might have been wrong about something, even though they've been exonerated. And yes, like I said, the only person who's eaten dogs or who committed a crime in Central Park was RFK Jr., a man who is now throwing down with Donald Trump. And we have those receipts and we can bring them. The last thing I want to talk about before we wrap is abortion. And I'm trying to find exactly the moment in the debate, but it was good. I mean, she talked about what women are going through across this country, and he very proudly was like, yeah, we overturned Roe v. Wade. Everyone wanted it to go back to the states, which is a complete lie. And then, of course, reiterated again, not just the immigrants are eating cats and dogs, but people are having abortions at 9 months.
They have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, who's doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's an execution, no longer abortion.
Tim Walz?
Because the baby is born is okay. And that's not okay with me.
If Tim Walz told me to kill a baby, I'd be like, like there must be something wrong.
What did the baby do?
Yeah, what did the baby do to you? What did it do to Coach Walz?
What's up with
what is he talking? What is this West Virginia thing he's talking about?
I think he's confusing apparently like the governor of Virginia and West Virginia. It's not, but I don't know. It's like there's something more than fact checking Trump. It's like dream checking him. Like which movie did he just see? Like I feel like we're in his bad dream and he's just free associating. And we're like, oh, I know why you said West Virginia, because you saw a movie you know, about Appalachia and that jogged, like the whole thing.
It reminds me, I mean, like people, like online, people keep saying that it's like listening to a toddler. And and as your child speaks more, like I have this memory of like when my kids were little, they would say something that wouldn't make any sense, and then I'd have to like piece it together based on what I knew that they knew and how they were connecting to other things that they know, knowing that there are big gaps of their knowledge.
Exactly.
Like,
You're
oh,
feeling
that
like
that that makes sense if you actually don't know anything about anything, and
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
just extrapolating from the three things that you remember.
well, like I was saying during the stream, it just sounds like a child recounting an action sequence to you,
Mhm.
but like forgetting all the main points of the plot. Just like, and then the guy goes, "Psh," and he was like, "Oh no, yeah, yeah, I did," like that.
Yeah,
That's what
totally. It's wild for him to be making these like big swings though, because this is only appealing to like base Republicans. Like he's not. That's just interesting to me for him to not be trying to like slow that a little bit in a debate. But
exactly. I mean,
yeah,
reiterating this, yeah, he didn't tone it down at all.
no,
According to
no.
the Daily Beast, he misconstrued a debunked episode involving former Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. I
Hmm.
guess a post about the former Virginia's comments on third trimester abortions, which were misconstrued. Something about basically if an infant was if it was unviable or the mother's life was in danger, something like that. And it's just like, okay, you just lift shit at random.
Yeah.
And she's got a response,
me,
but
hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices,
6 extremist
we were able to do
justices
that.
in
Now, I
their
believe in the
18-wheelers.
exceptions for
Yeah, pieces
rape,
of
incest,
shit.
and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what
Every man, and every man wanted it to be brought back to the states.
happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal. Much
Meaning
more liberal than
enshrining
people
the
would have
rights
thought.
to
But each
an abortion.
individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
Oh God. And then just before we bounce hurtful
There is no
comments.
state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice.
I just Lindsay, love you, Lindsay.
Lindsay. I don't even know if there's a D in your name or not, but
Yeah.
Lindsay without a D, girl, you don't even need that D because this is amazing.
Credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born.
Boom, boom.
More amazing. Moving on. Like next question didn't even give him a second. All right, final her rebuttal. This is Kamala Harris on abortion rights. Here, let's take a listen.
Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they,
even though they promised not to. And I think Mitch McConnell would like a word because he also had a big role in it as well.
did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about
a violent
what happens
crime
to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country.
Good
You want to
answer.
talk?
Yeah.
This is what people wanted. Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that.
Way to
A
turn
12
it
or
on him.
13-year-old
Way to turn it
survivor
on
of
him. So
incest,
perfect.
being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
I love that answer. And
Very good.
I think she hit all the boxes. She said you don't have to change your faith to know that you don't want decisions in the hands of big government on this issue. I mean, it was perfect. It was a perfect answer. I also think that the other thing she should, he says he's not going to pass an abortion ban, but Republicans in Congress right now, number one, they vetoed the IVF protection rule. So he's on some next level shit with that, which she didn't catch him on. But two, they also want to enshrine the rights of the unborn into law, meaning you automatically, women will all, and pregnant people will become second-class citizens just like that, right? It's like, the life of this little zygote takes precedent. So this is good. Then Trump's like, she's never going to get the votes. She'll never be able to get it. And it's like, buddy, you can't even argue with her on the moral underpinnings of what we're talking about here. You're just saying she can't get the votes. I don't know, guys. It's somehow still a close election. We'll see. Let's put our best swing voter hat on, because CNN's going to wheel out a bunch of undecided voters who've been living in a vat of I don't know what. Well, they're sort of cryogenically frozen in between, and they are taken out, and they're like, I don't know, she's pretty. He seems strong and angry, and I like that. Like, where do they find these Ken Bones?
It's really crazy.
But I do think she's got to do more, I mean, hopefully she's kissing the right babies over in Nevada and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin. I am still looking for more when it comes to international law, and a change when it comes to Gaza. But final thoughts before we wrap this baby up, guys. It was a good night. It was a good night for people who want to shove Donald Trump's face into the doggy doo-doo that he creates every single fucking day.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of hers by any real means, but it was very nice to see her slap him around a little bit and I think very clearly win this, and she did a very good job, and you could see what she was probably like in a courtroom back in the day,
for real.
And I'm like, oh, I see how you've gotten to where you are, and I think she came off as very likable.
She managed to sort of
do a good job,
smile, but also again the sneak disses.
And
without being cringe. Can we respect the fact that she didn't say they not like us the entire time? She didn't do cringe stuff. She didn't say, as a child, this cat lady, there was nothing try-hardy about what she was doing.
It felt good because it stayed, the thing, the DNC, made my skin crawl because of how, yes, mama, brr, brr, joy, brat summer it was.
Yeah.
I was like, can we be serious? There's a genocide happening. Can we actually have some meat to this election whatsoever? And she actually, I think, brought some of she showed herself as a leader tonight, I think. I'm like, oh, okay. I look forward to yelling at her when she's president.
Absolutely. I look
hopefully.
forward to, and I do think that, you know, the difference between this moment and, let's say, the Obama moment, or definitely the Biden moment, is Biden was a lifeline. So is Kamala Harris. But there's no like real movement support, like real grassroots excitement. There's some people are excited. It's okay to be excited. But it's not the groundswell that was Obama. There's a lot fewer stars in people's eyes about how much a president can do, and just how serious a real fascist still could be, even if Trump is beaten in November. She might not have, I think she could have ended the whole thing with a little bit of like, this shit ain't a game. You know what I'm saying? Like, Donald Trump's an unserious man, and yet this is a very serious election. Go to KamalaHarris.com, or where the fuck we're supposed to go. You know what I'm saying? Like, there needed to be a little bit more of a pitch. Like, if any of that scared you, get involved in our campaign. Knock doors. I mean, Nato, you're the organizer.
Well, it's not going to come as a surprise to you, Francesca, but in a couple of weeks, I'm going to do a Zoom fundraiser for Movement Voter Project, an organization that I love, that I've been raising money for years, to raise money directly to get grassroots independent organizations doing get out the vote in working class communities and communities of color and among young voters in Nevada and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and Georgia and Arizona and all those places.
That's great.
I think I mean, what I was thinking about while we were watching is like, it was 2 months ago was the Biden debate, 2.5 months ago, and like, we're in such a different world now.
We are.
And yes, it's still close, but it's like, there's a fucking fighting chance that it's not like resigned to definite fascism, but maybe not that.
And what you're talking about in terms of Movement Voter Project is that the Kamala Harris campaign has reinvigorated some of the grassroots groups that, successfully flipped places like Georgia, although that will be difficult this time. But like, all of them, I mean, we were hearing from it. They were like, I can't get volunteers. I can't get funding. People are demoralized. They're demobilized. And 100% the genocide is still happening. But that is a piece of the fact that it is also attached to a corpse of a president who cannot finish a thought.
And
it feels there's a fight now.
I'm sure you both saw like the headline that the Harris campaign had 400,000 volunteers in the state of Georgia. Like, those kinds of numbers are just so significant in terms of like, when you're like, having worked on so many elections, it feels so futile. Where like, I have a precinct, and on election day, I'm doing voter turnout on my precinct, and I go back to the same house 4 times to make sure that person voted by the end of the day. And I feel like, Jesus Christ, I'm spending my whole day, and if I make sure that 2 or 3 people vote who wouldn't have voted otherwise, like, that's my whole day. But there was a Democratic primary that happened recently in Arizona, where the AIPAC candidate won by like 36 votes or something. So, in this kind of moment, where like Republicans can lose and still win. Do you know what I mean? Democrats only win in waves. And, because the system is so undemocratic and so stacked against Democratic voters. And so like, whatever is necessary to energize. So the swing voters are not the people trying to decide between Trump and Harris. The swing voters are the people trying to decide between Harris and not voting. And, she didn't depress them tonight. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I mean, like, anything that helps down ballot races, because I think that like is going to matter more and more and more as things go forward. And like, one of my good friends is like an organizer in Wisconsin that when Biden was running, she couldn't get anybody to come out and door knock for anybody. And now she has more volunteers than anybody for whatever top of the ticket, but for everybody else.
More importantly, exactly, everybody. I mean, as important, right? Everybody else and the ability to, I mean, it's just amazing. Like, hey, for the record, once again, fuck Kirsten Sinema and Joe Manchin.
Yes.
Just one more again. Like, it's been such little time since we just focused on what massive pieces of shit they were. But let's never forget that it was Democrats who tanked the Democratic plan and the Democratic president's plan.
I feel like there's one of those. You know how like I feel like there's a new, there's a new wave of the same thing, like that you had a Britney Spears and now you have Taylor Swift or whatever, whatever the thing is, and so I feel like now we have Joe Manchin, Kristen Sinema. Once upon a time we had Joe Lieberman. Before that we had Zell Miller. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't even know.
Yeah,
these fucks will always happen.
We now have like Fetterman on one issue, but there's a guy who is running scared, but we'll need his vote. I mean, that's what's crazy about this whole thing. We will need Fetterman's vote. But it has been quite a night. It was entertaining. It was a lot less painful than other Trump debates. This is good. And thank you all for joining us. And thanks for everyone who became members on YouTube, and also for people who became patrons. I see you, Linda. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brendan. And we are going to be doing our show Wednesday and Friday as always. But I want to say thank you to my guests. Brandie, Posey, where can people find you, follow you, listen to you, not talk about politics maybe for a little bit?
I'm at Brandazzle on Instagram and Twitter, and Brandazzle is here on TikTok. I am a stand-up comic. I tour the country doing funny jokes all over the place. I have a podcast called Lady to Lady that you can hear every single Wednesday for the last 12 and a half years, forever. And then I own a comedy record label called Burn This Records that is trying to create equity for independent artists in comedy and trying to like put some money into their pockets in ways that other institutions just don't. So
love it. How can we
support
Burn This Record?
Follow us for sure. Burn This Records on Instagram or Burn This Records on Facebook if you use Facebook. Those following us helps a lot. I post all of our new releases every time stuff comes out on there. You'll see things as they come out. All of the artists that I work with are cut from the same cloth as me in a lot of ways. Like I work with like progressive DIY, like fun, interesting people who aren't afraid of hard work and have interesting, cool perspectives, because I'm not fucking with people that aren't like that. And I think it's important to Sammy Anzer. He's great. Love him.
Yeah. We got some shout outs in the chat.
Yeah. Somebody said they like Sammy Anzer's album. He did a split album with Edward Bell out of Denver. Very, very funny. Yeah, we had a lot of really great people, and the next year and a half is booked already, and with awesome comics you're gonna love. So
Randall Smith says Brandie's a hottie. Seconded. Oh, okay. Thank you so much for being on, Brandie. Come back real soon and take good care. And you, Mr. Nato Green, where can people find you, follow your work? And thanks for being on. We missed you.
Sure. I miss you too. We should do a regular TBR sometime soon.
Yeah. Come back on.
But Mr. Nato Green on Instagram, stand up locally in the Bay, Nato Green on the other things, also regularly on the Bugle podcast, and, in union contract fights all over Northern California.
Hell yeah. You definitely need to come back on. We're going to be doing a hearty series on all kinds of issues, climate, labor.
I'll pass.
Okay. Well, I thought so.
Yeah.
All right, Nato. Love you. Have a great night. And love all y'all out there. Thank you so much for becoming members. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon, Nessa Rainbow Wiren, the instructor, Malik Walker, Lazy Cloud. Thanks for the birthday wishes. Thanks for the super chats. It is my birthday today. I'm 25. And you can find me Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to stream tomorrow with some of the stories. It's been a massive story week. There's been a lot of news, and we haven't gotten to a lot of it. So we'll do that tomorrow solo. That is free to stream. But if you want to watch it back, become a member or a patron, patreon.com/bitchuationroom. So many perks, so many discounts on merch, so many discounts on the American Prospect magazine, all the things. Support this show. Appreciate you. And on Friday, I'll also be doing another show. So like Tuesdays, Fridays, it's just going to be a wild ride between now and Election Day. Follow the show. Follow me at Franny Fio on all the things. Wish me happy birthday. Love y'all. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.